Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth singer session for the Prescott Chorale, part of the Moving PC Forward session series. We're going to talk tonight about some rehearsal prep techniques and score prep techniques and things that you can do at home between rehearsals to help you learn your music and just know your part better and be able to be a better singer in the choir. My name is Jacob Gilbert, and I am the assistant director for the Prescott Chorale and also the music director at Prescott United Methodist Church. And there are going to be a lot of things we talk about tonight, but most of these things can be done at home, whether or not you play the piano or another instrument. They can be actually done in public, or in your car or anything like that. So we're going to talk through a lot of these things, and hopefully this will help you with some rehearsal techniques. So each week with the Prescott Chorale, Dennis sends out a schedule of what we're going to be rehearsing in our next rehearsal, and usually sends us out 5 or 6 days in advance. And the reason he does that is so you can look at it and look at your music and know what you're going to be going over the next rehearsal. So that way you'll practice it. And I know a lot of us don't always do that. It seems like it's going to take a lot of time, but really you could practice it in maybe like 30 minutes for the week. An hour maybe would even be better. But you can, if even if you spend 30 minutes on it, you're going to start learning your part better and understand the music more. A lot of people will say, well, I don't play the piano, or I don't play another instrument that I can play through my part on. And that's fine. No, I know that not all of us play an instrument, but there are a lot of techniques you can use to learn your part. And one of the best things is that we live in the year 2020. Well, the year 2020 isn't that great, but we have access to all of these recordings of music, and you can find recordings for every choral piece pretty much in existence. And listening to that, just getting that sound in your ear and everything will really help you because you'll know what it sounds like. And if you start singing your part along with it while looking at the music and studying your music, you're going to start learning your part. But before you start with a recording, what you should do is start with the text. I know this doesn't seem that beneficial, but the more that you understand your text, the better you're going to be able to sing the song because you know what you're singing about. Maybe it's in English or a language that you speak. And so you already know what the words are saying and what the song's about. But maybe it's in Latin, maybe it's in German, French, Italian, all these different languages. So having a translation and knowing what the music is talking about will allow you to emote and be able to sing the music correctly. And have you ever listened to any of those songs that they're usually kind of parodies and they're supposed to be funny, but you have a really really upbeat music and it's maybe fast or exciting, but it's a really depressing or really sad topic they're talking about. And a lot of people, if they don't listen to the text, they might miss that and not realize it. But knowing your text for the choral piece that you're singing will really help you be able to sing it and give better inflection and just emote and show the audience what you're singing about. One thing that's beneficial, if there is a word that is repeated frequently throughout the song. So a lot of times in masses, when you're singing those, they'll be in Latin for the most part. And knowing the words that are repeated frequently to give the inflection and the accent and everything on it, knowing the translation of that one word or two words will really help. So write that in your score. You should write the translation in your score so you know what you're singing about all the time. And eventually you'll just kind of internalize that and be able to know what you're singing, even though it might not be an exact translation that's going through your head. You'll get into the habit of singing in a certain way. So knowing the text and what you're talking about and the inflection and the accents and everything with that will really help. And that's a really good starting point for when you're rehearsing at home, just going over the text. So I said in my introduction that we live in the year 2020 and we have access to all of these recordings online of choral music. So if you go and take the title and the composer of the song that you're doing and type it into Google and just hit enter, it's going to pull up videos of all these different choirs doing these songs. So finding a couple, one or two, maybe three videos that you really like listening to, one will help you practice a little bit more because you enjoy listening to it, but it'll give you different perspectives from the different groups and conductors on the inflection, the tempo, dynamics, all of that stuff. So find a couple of these videos and you can sing along with them. It's good to do it without your music for a little while. It kind of gets you, you get to know the song a little bit. You can hear it in your head. You start to audiate it, which is I use this in my last session about sight reading stuff. It's where you hear something in your head and you can recreate it. So, your favorite song, you can probably hear it in your head and you can sing the melody, even though there's no music playing. So that's audiating. But once you're able to audiate this song, hear it in your head, you're starting to internalize it and really start to remember it, and it's being kind of imprinted on in your brain. Then you can also use it with your music, which is a really good rehearsal technique because you're hearing all the parts and the accompaniment, and you can start singing your part along. A lot of people, if you don't play the piano or anything, and you have a hard time just learning your part without hearing a recording, this can be a little bit more difficult. So it may be good to find a rehearsal track for the song that we're doing. All of the major works, so if we do a mass or a requiem or anything like that, pretty much all of them have rehearsal tracks that you can find that people have gone through and they're singing the parts. So going through and listening to those to learn your parts is really good. But then using the videos of the choral groups, you can sing it with the other parts, with the conductor there, and you're learning it in different ways because the different videos you're using, they're all going to be a little bit different. But then you just have to adapt what you've learned to what Dennis or me or Therese or whoever it is that's directing the choir that you're in. You just have to change it a little bit. Maybe they want to carry over a phrase somewhere. Maybe they want to change the dynamics. Maybe they want to do something a little bit different with the music. Then you just adapt, which everybody, I think, can probably adapt. So a lot of people, I think, look down on using a recording to learn choral music. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's really, really helpful to use different recordings to learn your music, especially if you don't play the piano or you're not a strong sight reader. And using these recordings, in my opinion, is kind of like using a recipe. So some people just cook the dump method, the dump method, where they take all these ingredients, they just kind of put everything in the pot, and you get delicious food. Some people can't do that. Some people have to follow a recipe, and they use this recipe card and they put the exact ingredients in, the exact measurements, the step-by-step process, and they get delicious food. And I feel like using these recordings is kind of like your recipe card, where you have this finished product and you're using it to help you along the way learn your part and learn the music. And I don't think using a recipe card is cheating. I don't think that using a recording is cheating. So if you can use these recordings to help you, by all means do it. And you're going to feel better and more confident with what you're doing and singing. And you're going to learn your part faster, learn the music faster, and really internalize and be able to audiate this music in your head. The other thing with using a recording is you start to learn your part as a melody. Even though you may be singing harmony, it becomes your melody. And once this becomes your melody and you're able just to sing it, you're able just to sing your part, even though it's not the melody of the song, it's the melody that you're singing. Because it, whenever you're singing your part, you're paying attention to your part. You're paying attention to the conductor, the tempo, the accompaniment. You're hearing the other parts too, but you're not really internalizing those the way that you're internalizing your own part. So being really confident and just being able to sing your part whenever without any accompaniment or anything, because you've internalized it so well, that's going to really help you in the rehearsal process, in the performance process, and just in your confidence as a singer. So the better you know your part, the better you're going to sing. Now we're going to get into some of the rehearsal techniques that are going to involve more of what I talked about in my last session about ear training. So when you're looking at your music and you're learning your part and rehearsing it, you don't want to just practice the stuff that you know, because you're just wasting your time. If you already know something and you're using all your practice time working on that part, you need to find your problem areas. That jump that you can't make, or maybe it's the layout of the song. Maybe there are a bunch of repeats and there's second endings, third endings, and codas, and all these different things you have to go through in the music to figure out where you're supposed to be singing to make sure everybody's together. You need to find those places, circle them, so that you know that's the place you need to work on. And when you're rehearsing, you go through those parts instead of the parts you already know. You should always refresh and make sure that the parts you do know are staying fresh in your mind and that you know what you're supposed to be singing. But working on the problem areas is part of practicing. And if you don't do that, then you really are just kind of wasting your time with your practice. So you need to solve these problem areas. And you go to that problem area, you isolate it, and maybe it's an interval that you're not getting the jump up or down to a note, or you're singing the wrong note consistently in one place because you're hearing something else in your head than what's written on the paper. So when you start looking at that section, you sing it correctly a couple times, and then you back up a couple of notes or a couple of measures, and you sing the part that you already know, and then you sing all the way through the part that you're having trouble with, and you make sure it's right. This is where the audiation and the ear training and knowing what it's supposed to sound like really helps. And if you don't have somebody there to tell you, no, that was wrong, then you have to work on these skills to know that you are right. And it's nothing super advanced. It's just knowing these intervals, and solfege really helps with this, where you know what note of the scale you're supposed to be singing, and you start audiating and internalizing the notes of the scale in associating that syllable from solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, with the notes of the scale. So you can start checking yourself when you're rehearsing. But as you go over this problem spot and you back up a measure or two and sing through it, and once you start singing it a couple times correctly, then sing through it through a couple of measures. Recording yourself doing this is very helpful, because then, even though it's not fun to listen to, while you're singing it, you may be hearing it in your head, but actually not singing the correct line or the correct pitch. And if you record yourself and you sing through it, and then you listen back to your recording, you, over time, especially if you've internalized the music, you're going to know it sounds wrong. Maybe you don't know what you're supposed to be singing. That's when you ask somebody for help if you can't get it. That's when in a rehearsal you say, I can't get this note. Can we go over it? But a lot of the questions, I'm going to be a little blunt about it, but some of the questions that people ask in rehearsals when we're supposed to be rehearsing at home are things we should learn at home. So making sure, if it's just a note, if the whole section's getting it wrong, yes, I get it. If it's just you, then listening to your section, listening to the piano when it's playing the part, and practicing that part will save a lot of rehearsal time and keep people from being frustrated because we keep going over the same thing over and over again. So just sorry, but make sure you rehearse. Um, Whenever you're going over this problem area, you start slowly and you sing through it, even taking it out of rhythm. So just singing from note to note, out of rhythm, doesn't matter what rhythm you're singing, and slowly making sure you're singing the correct ones. And then you put the rhythm back with the pitches, still slowly, and you just kind of build on top of that. So once you're able to sing the pitches slowly and accurately, then you add the rhythm back and you sing everything in rhythm slowly and accurately. After you do that, I should say, you sing it on a neutral syllable or on solfege syllables while you're doing it slowly and out of rhythm, and then add the rhythm back in. Once you get all that correct, then you start adding the lyrics in. So the text that you're singing, still slowly. Slow is key. And once you're able to get that accurately, you start speeding it up a little bit gradually until you get back to the tempo that's supposed to be at. So having an app on your phone that has a metronome or like a little piano, whatever, to help with your notes really helps. Because then you can slowly, like 2, 3, or 4 clicks faster on the metronome each time you sing it until you get up to tempo. Then once you get it back up to tempo, that's when you start adding the dynamics and the articulations and the breaths in the correct place, until you've mastered it and you know that part. And it's probably not going to take, you're probably not going to have it in 5 or 10 minutes. It's going to be a continuous practice over the course of a couple of days, maybe, until you get this part. Once you've internalized it, then it's not scary anymore. So once you get to a rehearsal or the concert or just your normal practice time, it's going to be so much easier for you to go through it and sing it with confidence. And once you get all of these problem spots, kind of worked up and you know them and you're confident with them, then you can sing the whole entire song and be confident, know your part, and really be able to work on all the nuances and things that we work on in rehearsals. And you won't have to be worrying about singing the right note or the right text or anything like that. And it'll make rehearsals and your practice time a lot more enjoyable, and because you're not frustrated and embarrassed or any of that stuff. So really working on the internalizing and knowing the parts is a huge factor in having a good rehearsal and good performance. Once you're able to internalize everything, that's when you start memorizing. So if you're able to memorize your part and only glance down at your music, maybe every couple of measures, make sure everybody's together, make sure you're singing the right thing, where you are in the music, but being able to watch the conductor and look up and look at the audience, and then you get the thing where Dennis doesn't have to say anymore, well, I love the color of your hair, because you're looking down and that's all I can see. So when you're able to hold your music up, look at it, know the next phrase and stuff that you're going to sing, and you already have it memorized, then you can look at it, know it, you look up and you watch the conductor, and you're able to stay together, and you can see all the little things that the director gives you, like a breath or an accent, or to hold things over or to cut off is very obvious when people aren't watching the conductor, because when the conductor goes to cut it off and then people sing a whole other measure and they have to keep cutting off because people aren't listening or watching. So the more you can internalize it, the more you can memorize your music, the better you're going to know it. You're going to be confident singing it, and it's going to make for a much better experience for you, for the director, for the rest of the chorale or the choir, and the audience during a performance. Another rehearsal technique that you need to use is analyzing your music, which kind of sounds advanced, but this is simple analysis. it's really kind of the roadmap, the layout of the song. So, you need to figure out how the piece is organized. And does it have different sections? Obvious sections, like an A section, a B section, a C section. Um, do, do you repeat parts? Is it, let's not use that word. Is it like kind of like a hymn where you sing a verse and you go back to the top and you sing it again and that's the song? Or is there a verse and then a chorus and then a verse and a chorus? Is it none of those? Is it just kind of go through and it's just one song without those individual sections? Um, you need to look and see if your part occurs in a different part. Maybe the melody is being passed around. Maybe the sopranos sing the melody here, but then the altos sing it in the next section, and the sopranos sing a descant on top. Or maybe it goes to the tenors and basses. And knowing where the melody jumps around, when you have the melody, when you have harmony, when you're all singing together with the same rhythm, so it's homophonic, or is it polyphonic, where everybody's singing different rhythms? And knowing these couple of things will help you know what to look for, what to listen for in the other parts. The other things that can happen, maybe there's a key change. Maybe your part's really difficult at a key change. Knowing where that is and how your note fits into the next key is very helpful and will help you learn your part better. Or if there are meter changes, so time signature changes, maybe it goes from 4/4, which is 4 beats per measure with the quarter note getting 1 beat, to 3/4, so 3 beats per measure, quarter note getting 1 beat. Maybe it goes to 6/8, 9/8, 12/8, 15/8. Who knows? It could be any of these things, but knowing where the meter changes and how to count that helps. Then the more, maybe not complicated, but things you have to kind of think through are if there are repeats. So if you see a repeat sign, like a beginning repeat sign, you need to know where that section ends. So where do you stop and go back to that repeat sign? How many times do you do it? Are there first and second endings? Is there a coda? And is it a DSL coda? Do you, where are you having to go? Or is it da capo? Or what do you have to do? So knowing these things will help you understand the roadmap, how everything's laid out in the music, and where you need to go back to, where you go forward to, where you repeat, and knowing who's singing what and what part and what section of the song. And it's a lot of things, but once you kind of get that general understanding and you understand the layout of how everything fits together, then it makes you singing your part much easier. And then you're not frantically flipping through the pages and not knowing where you're supposed to go back. And it'll help speed up the rehearsal process for everyone in the rehearsal, if everybody knows where you're supposed to go. And it'll just make it a little less frustrating and easier for everyone to do that. So that's kind of the basic analysis of what you need to do for the song to help you understand it a little better. After you do that, knowing where your starting pitch is everybody starting unison? Is it perfect unison? Is it like a unison at an octave? Are you singing a note in a chord? Which part comes in first? What clef are you reading if you're a tenor? Because usually tenors will either sing in treble clef or in bass clef. So knowing where your note is, your starting note, how that all fits together, what note it is in the chord, what note it is in the scale. It may not be a perfect chord, an easy, triad chord that you're having to sing. And this is where it comes back to the ear training. If you know the key you're in and which note of the scale you're singing, then you know the solfege for it. So you can start hearing that note in your head before you even get there. The other way to figure that out is, does another part sing your note before you come in? Does the complement play a note before you come in? If it's a cappella and you have a pitch pipe and the director blows on the pitch pipe, or whoever it is plays a note on the pitch pipe, instead of humming your note, you can hear it and audiate it and know what note you're supposed to be singing in relation to the one that you heard. That's where you start getting that relative pitch kind of thing coming in, and knowing solfege really helps with that. So getting the layout of the song, knowing your first note, and any time that you're not singing for a period of time and then you come in, you need to know where those notes are too. Once you get all that, then um, you're able to, I guess, almost visualize the song. And so you've internalized your part. You can see the music kind of, you know, where you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to go back, go forward, and it'll start all making more sense and start coming together. This helps with memorization, where you know all these things. You can kind of picture it in your head, like, oh yeah, there's a repeat coming up, and you've gone through it so many times, you can visualize where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to sing next. Um, then this also helps with your rehearsal technique, obviously because you know where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to sing. But uh, I think it's really better a lot of times to work from back to front. So you start at the end and you work on the ending, you get that section going, and then you back up to the next phrase or the next section and you work on that and you sing all the way through to the end. And you just keep doing that. You work backwards until you get the whole entire song. You can sing it from front to back or beginning to end, and you just build on those sections. That really is a good rehearsal technique, and at least for me, and because you know the end goal, you know what it's supposed to sound like at the end, and then you start building these pieces from working backwards from the end to the beginning, and you just build those like building blocks, and you're able to start stringing those pieces together. It's really good to work on transitions between the sections, and kind of dividing it up into phrases, or if there is an A section or a B section where one section sounds a certain way, another section sounds completely different, and you know, figuring out how those fit together and how to get from one to the other. Those are other rehearsal techniques that'll help, that you can do easily at home and not even have to play the piano or anything, and just listening to the music, looking at your music, and dividing it up into sections and knowing where you start, where you stop, the layout of everything, and finding your starting notes will really help with your rehearsal process at home. So you can do that at home. You can sing through things in the car. You can take pictures of your music or just take your music with you and look at it, you know, just for a couple of minutes. And all of those will really help with your rehearsal process. So the last part I'm going to talk about is something you need to do in your own rehearsal time, but also during rehearsal time with your ensemble. So using a pencil to mark your music. What I do is, for a breath mark or something, I put a little check mark above my line, and using that, I know that that symbol for me means to take a breath. I draw a little line between two notes, or you know, two phrases or something, that to me signifies to not take a breath, or the little dashed line that sometimes composers put in the music. That'll help you to know to not take a breath. But developing your own system of symbols and little things you can put in to your music to remind you to do something that the director tells you to do will really help. And so when we're in rehearsal and the director is saying, you know, take a breath here, carry over here, I need this note accented, or I need you to crescendo or decrescendo. If those things aren't already written into the music, you need to write them in, because what'll happen is the director will say something, you don't write it in because you're like, oh, I'll remember that. You know, this is what I was already doing. At some point, you're not going to do that. You can do something completely different than what you should be doing. So getting your own system, and you don't have to use, you know, a preset symbol system, whatever works for you, is what you need to kind of figure out, and really write down things when the director says something, or when you're rehearsing and you keep messing up something, just as a reminder to yourself to do that line or that phrase a certain way. That'll really help. And lastly, just practice. And even if it's, 10 or 15 minutes a day, you could, I mean, it's not very much time, and just picking on one song each day. You don't have to go through the whole entire list of things that we're doing, but working a little bit will help a lot. And you'll start learning the music faster, you'll memorize it, and by the time we get to the concert, you'll really know your music. And it makes it a lot less stressful for you, for the choir, for the director, just everything. And you'll feel more confident, you'll sing better, you'll have a better time because you're not just focused on not messing up something, or I have to remember this, make sure I do this, because by that time it'll be ingrained and you'll really know the music, and you'll just have a much better performance and a better time. You'll feel better about your performance and about yourself. So just practice. And there are a ton of uh, ways you can do things at home for practicing your music. And it's really all about just figuring out what works best for you. Maybe there are some things you're really good at and some things that you aren't as good at. So those things that you aren't as good at, you should practice and work on them and get better, and not focus all the time, all your rehearsal time, on things that you're good at. Even though, because those are confidence boosters, they make you feel good, like, oh yeah, I can do this, I got it. And then you get frustrated with the things you're not as good at and the parts that you don't know. So really working on those things that you don't know will help you in the long run and will make you better in all the music that you do. And then you can really just enjoy the music that you're making and the group that you're singing in. So the more you practice, the better the experience is going to be, even though practice can be pretty frustrating. But that's about it. And I hope that these rehearsal techniques were a little helpful for you, and that you're able to implement them into your rehearsing, and your individual rehearsing and the group rehearsing techniques. And I really think that it'll help a lot. It'll make you feel better about it and make the conductor happy, make the choir happy, and it'll be a better experience for everyone. So again, let me know if you have any questions, and I will gladly answer them as best as I can. And I hope that you will practice and keep enjoying singing in a choir.